Hello, welcome back to watching Street Smart on Bloomberg TV India. Now, as the Finance Minister gets ready to present his budget in 72 hours, hurdles in infrastructure and investments have been the two key factors dragging down the economy. Will Arun Jaitley be able to boost investments and therefore growth?
Well, Mini sat down with Ravi Uppal of JSPL, Shanti Kamram of Kotak Mahindra and Hemant Kanoria of Shree Infra Finance, and asked them if the infrastructure bottlenecks in sectors like power was indeed a wedge in economic growth.
As far as the issue of power infrastructure is concerned, the government is very seized with the matter. Without having to wait for the new budget to come, they have already started major amendments to the policy framework. There are a huge number of projects which were stuck, particularly within the power generation space. And one of the key issues facing the sector was availability of the fuel, which is largely coal and to some extent gas. So I think the government has started with the coal auction process now. Let's just hope that it makes a headway. But I think, the government should make sure that if there are any projects which are already completed and are about to operate or close to operation, they should ensure that in one way or the other, the coal is made available to that. By that, I am essentially alluding to that if they are not successful in securing the coal under coal auction because the competition is pretty fierce, then they should try to give them a linkage, because the investment has been made, and in which not only the developers or promoters have put in money, but a huge amount of money from the banks is involved. I would really sort of urge government, to go a little beyond just making the policy amendments. They should look at each case where the projects are stuck.
Ravi, hold your thoughts, because let's talk about that. What has happened is that while there has been some movement in declogging, I think the financial ramification of the crisis is still very clear, especially as the public sector banks are coming out with numbers. Mr. Kanoria, from your context, is there something that the FM can do to kind of kickstart a lot of these projects? Because from what we hear, only about 27% of stalled projects have actually gotten kickstarted. Of course, a lot of work is on the way, but it's really an issue of, giving that boost to the sector.
No, I think that it is very important for the government this time, because there's almost about 3.5 to 4 lakh crore of money which is stuck up of the contractors with the various governments, state and the central government, and various projects. So that needs to be released gradually, and if it is done fast, it will be good, because the problem which the banks are also facing, they will find an easing of their situation, because many of the contractors and construction companies are not in a position to become viable or not come out of the CDR because their money is stuck up with the government. So that is one issue which needs to be tackled. The second is the infrastructure projects itself, those which are stuck up, and because the present promoters are not in a position to complete the projects, because they are not in a position to raise equity, because the equity market is totally dried up. So therefore, it is important that the banks, and especially the public sector banks, they take quick decisions where they can bring in the new promoters who can come in, infuse capital, and then can restart those particular projects. Because if the projects keep on languishing, it is creating more and more problems, because to restart the project which has been stuck up for 1.5 years and nothing is happening, to restart will take again a longer time.
I know there's dire need for this. Shanti, let me get you in here. From a banker's perspective, you've seen the crisis unfold as far as the power sector and many of the infrastructure sectors are concerned on the ground. How deep is the crisis, and what is it that the FM can do to kind of declog it?
Okay, I'll say in 2-3 parts. If we have to get the economy back on track, there are 2-3 things. A, you need to get the investment cycle going. There are 2 things for that. One, you need to see what is currently clogging the system. While there have been some steps taken to declog the system, if you find bulk of the infrastructure projects, they're still not moving the way they should be moving. So one, you have a huge backlog of projects that are stuck. Second, you've got to create headroom for financing new projects, or even looking at how do you rotate and churn the existing projects. If you look at banks, particularly the PSU banks, which form 70% of the economy, they need capitalization So as a sector, you need to create headroom for funding infrastructure. So in my mind, there are three aspects of it. A, existing projects, how to get the cycle going, how do you churn, how do you take some hard calls and say, this is dead, this is not going to work, this is something that can be rehabilitated and revived. Let us do what it takes, and government needs to take certain policy decisions. For example, there are many plants that have been set up for power on gas-based, and they are unutilized because there is no gas available and the gas policy is still in doldrums. So we need to move on some of those. Second, how do you make it conducive for new investments to come in infrastructure? I can tell you, the private sector, I do not see them really coming in and investing in the infrastructure sector. So does the government have headroom to really pump prime by providing some part of the funds to really kickstart infrastructure? And third, creating the headroom by capitalizing banks for financing infrastructure. Added to that, I think they can look at some incentives for market-related infrastructure financing.
All right, just a quick reminder, you can catch that entire conversation at 12 p.m. only on Bloomberg TV India.
Up next, how to play this expiry ahead of the budget. Manoj Bailar from Gallagher will be joining us.